Do you want to know a secret? What secret? Like how Tanjiro was cursed, or how Muzan actually almost found the blue spider lily? I actually rewatched Demon Slayer in 0.1 speed and found 15 hidden details that everyone missed. Explain. So when I say cursed, you're probably thinking like the Demon Slayer mark, as it said that anyone uses it will pass away at the age of 25. Actually, that's exactly what I'm thinking. But I'm not talking about that at all. I'm talking about Tanjiro's nose. Explain. So Tanjiro's nose is extremely powerful. He can smell things from a mile away, food, people, and so much more. Right. But every time Tanjiro walks into a town, he gets a certain smell. One so foul, I'm sure he's wondering if his nose off. What is it? The dead. Wait, what? In each town that Tanjiro walks through, he can smell people unalive or close to it before anyone even knows. And this has gone so far that people will actually ask him to find their missing relatives. Oh my gosh, that's horrifying. But Tanjiro's worst find was probably his father. What do you mean? Well, sadly, Tanjiro was the one who found his dad passing away, coughing up blood. But not only that, he's found his grandma too. That's insane. So what are these other 14 secrets? Well, if I had to pick one, do you want to know how Hashira really feel about Sanemi? What do they say? Well, let me tell you, Gyokko drops a bombshell. Like what? Gyokko's the nicest guy we know? Sanemi's secret crush. Explain. So to understand how crazy this is, you have to understand how the other Hashira feel about him. Starting with Tengen, who calls him dangerous and a brat. I mean, is he lying? Let me guess, Gyu agrees. Gyu calls him a hothead. Again, is he lying? But Obanai actually has nothing but love for the Wind Hashira, calling him his friend. Well, that's nice. But Muichiro has a weird way of expressing how he feels about the other Hashira, calling him a wolf. Weird, but okay. Mitsuri just thinks Sanemi is scary and intimidating, but also comments on how much Sanemi yells at him. I mean, I can kinda get it, but Rengoku is impressed how far Sanemi has taken wind breathing. But this is where it gets weird. Explain. While the other Hashira comment how angry Sanemi is or how strong Sanemi is, Shinobu comments that Sanemi talks to her very often, but the reason why is crazy. What do you mean? Well, according to Gyokko, Sanemi has quite the sensitive side and can be easily embarrassed. But the big bombshell secrets? He had a huge crush on Shinobu's sister, Kanao. What? And he's not the only one with a secret, because I need to tell you something about Tengen. Tell me what? Well, remember how Tengen told us he lost his entire family? Yeah. Well, Tengen didn't tell you the whole truth about what actually happened, and the truth is heartbreaking. Explain. Well, the Tengen we know is known to be flashy, flamboyant, charismatic, but that wasn't always the case. What do you mean? Well, during Tengen's time as a shinobi, Tengen's father forced him and his brothers to go through this intense training, where they had to fight all night against these masked men until only one survived. Wait, I think I remember that. But what Tengen didn't tell you and what he didn't know at the time is that those masked men were actually his brothers. Tengen actually unalived 2 of them before he found out, but the sad truth about all of this is that when the truth did come out, one of Tengen's brothers didn't stop. He unalived brother after brother until only him and Tengen remained. So what happened? Tengen had so much rage he wanted to take out his entire clan, but he couldn't bring himself to do it, even with what his surviving brother and father made them do. So instead, Tengen created a facade, a new way of life to deal with the pain. It's crazy that the anime didn't really tell us that, but you know, that makes me think of a question. What question? Remember the Upper 5 Moon demon Gyokko? Yeah. Well, what's his backstory? Because the anime and manga never tell us. Well, it's actually a really dark story. Explain. Well, as a human, Gyokko, or a Managi, lived on the edge of this fishing village, but Managi was always isolated. People kept their distance from him. Why? Well, Managi, he wasn't like the others. He was always doing weird things like playing with fish carcasses. But the reason why is even worse. Explain. Well, at first, it seemed like playing with fish carcasses was Managi's way of coping. His parents passed away when he was young. They drowned and they found their bodies decomposing. Oh my gosh. But this is where it gets weird, and everything we thought we knew changes. Managi found their bodies. He wasn't horrified. He found their bodies beautiful. It unlocked a new fascination for him, which was playing with the fish. No wonder why everyone stayed away from him, but how did he go from that to being a demon? One day, a kid decided to not stay away and poke fun at Managi. And what happened? That kid unalived and stuffed into a jar. In anger, their parent retaliated and took a harpoon and poked over and over and over again. 12 hours later, Muzan found Managi's body barely alive and turned him into a demon. That explains Gyokko so much, but now what about Enmu? because the anime and manga don't say anything about him either. Well, Enmu, he's a freak. Makes sense, but how exactly? Well, much like his blood demon art, growing up, Enmu couldn't really tell the difference between dreams and reality. Actually, as an adult, Enmu would go around faking being a doctor and using hypnotic therapy on people, tricking them to think that what he was doing was actually helping them. So bro was on demon time before he was actually on demon time. Got it. But this is where things get a bit strange. There's more? Well, at some point, Enmu met Muzan, and Muzan wanted to make a meal out of Enmu, and he did. Muzan was literally feasting on his guts, but the weird thing is, Enmu felt no pain. Enmu actually praised and envied Muzan up to his last breath, and with the egoist that Muzan is, Muzan ended up turning him into a demon. You know, I wish I never asked that question. I honestly wish I didn't know that fact. But if we're gonna keep talking about demons, there's one backstory I really wanna know. Is it Nakime? Bro, how did you know? Because it's actually one of the craziest stories in the Databook. Explain. You see, Nakime was a struggling to make ends meet b-well player married to a gambling addict. The perfect match. But one night, this addict sold her performance kimono, the only one she had. And this enraged Nakime so much, she unalived him with a hammer. But this only happened moments before her performance, and she went on anyway. Well, what happened? Well, at first, the crowd was displeased with her appearance. I mean, she only had on this tattered kimono, the one she wore when she committed the act. But even more so, her hands shook with anxiety from what she had just done. So did she get booed off stage? No. Bloodied and full of adrenaline, Nakime played anyway and delivered the best performance of her life. The fans cheered. She got encore. She was paid handsomely, which only meant one thing. What? The more lives she took, the better she would play, the more money she would get. So from that day on, before every single performance, she took a life. But one day, she ran into the wrong person, Muzan Kibutsuji, who, impressed with her tracking skills, turned Nakime into a demon. Which makes me think, you know who should really be a demon? I mean, if I had to choose, I would say Rengoku, because at least he would be alive, and imagine the story we would get. That's a future video, but no. Shinobu. That's not at all who I expected you to say, but why? Well, what if I told you Kanao's original name wasn't gonna be Kanao? Explain. Well, according to the Demon Slayer Databook, Shinobu was actually in charge of picking Kanao's name, but something you may not realize is that Shinobu is actually an airhead. Wait, what? Well, you see, the original names that Shinobu came up with were all various names of fish, plants, and birds, all of which had Aoi and Kanae sweating bullets. Even more so when the name selection ceremony began. Explain. Well, the rules were simple. Sit baby on the floor and baby chooses name among many papers scattered across the ground. The name that was chosen was fish. Thankfully, however, Aoi switched the papers at the very last moment, giving Kanao her name. You know what? Shinobu was definitely on demon time. Right? Shinobu should definitely be a demon just for that. But I actually have a question now, right? Why did Aoi quit being a demon slayer? Well, what if I told you it was actually because of Muichiro? Wait, what did Muichiro do? Well, something a lot of people don't know is that Aoi was actually in the same final selection with Muichiro. But seeing how great Muichiro was, Aoi, even though she passed, felt like it was due to nothing but pure luck. And that feeling never left. I imagine that would be heavy. I mean, like, what if I ran to one of the 12 demon moons? Exactly. So after final selection, Aoi sadly decided to quit being a demon slayer and solely focus on running the butterfly mansion with Shinobu and the others. Which, speaking of which, did you know that Aoi and the three girls, Naho, Sumi, and Kyo, aren't even related? Wait, what? Well, while we know the butterfly mansion as a hospital for demon slayers, its true purpose is actually an orphanage. An orphanage for children who lost their family to demons. If only they had swords. Wait, what? Like this one from Mini Katana. Mini who? They're basically like the Swordsmiths village in real life, creating dull and sharp versions of all your favorite swords. But let's say you don't want an anime sword. They have a ton of normal katanas and so much more. Well, how can I get one? The link is right in the description. If you use code YASIN, you get 15% off your order. You know, speaking of swordsmiths, why do they all wear masks? You're asking me? Yeah. Well, what if I told you that Demon Slayer actually lied to you about the reason why they all wear masks. Explain. Well, according to the show, demon slayers wear masks because it provides some kind of protection spell against demons, but that's so far away from the truth. What do you mean? Well, have you ever noticed that Rokudaki and his students are the only ones to wear masks? Actually, yeah, why is that? Well, it's because of the real reason Rokudaki wears his mask. Explain. It does provide protection, but from demons making fun of his kind and gentle face. Yo, that's actually wild. So is that why other swordsmiths wear masks too? Not quite. Explain. Well, unlike Rokudaki, swordsmiths actually wear masks to protect their identity and their families, as they're both high-profile targets for demons. I mean, imagine if Muzan took out all the swordsmiths. Who's gonna craft their swords? I mean, Inosuke could, right? Give him a rock and let him go at it, but like, that makes me think of a question too. Why does Inosuke wear a mask? And even better, how did he learn to speak? Well, what if I told you he ripped it off his mom? Wait, what? Explain. Well, this all starts when Inosuke's mom is cornered by a demon, but rather than let Inosuke suffer, she yeeted him off a cliff. Eaten by demons or drowning. Sounds like she made the right choice. I mean, he did live, right? But after floating for days and miles down a river, Inosuke was found by a wild boar, who decided to raise Inosuke as her own. She taught him how to live in the wild, hunt, and so much more. But as Inosuke grew old, so did his mom. Oh no. Sadly, she passed away, but as tribute, Inosuke ripped her head off, cleaned it, and wore it as a mask. Okay, but if Inosuke was raised by a boar, how did he learn to speak? Well, after Inosuke's boar mom passed away, Inosuke stumbled across this young man named Takuharu and his grandpa, who, despite Inosuke coming off as a wild animal, the grandpa fed Inosuke, read to him, and even taught Inosuke his own name. That's so sweet. But Takuharu hated this. Like an older brother hates a little brother kind of way? More like Takuharu would constantly berate his grandpa, yelling at him to stop treating Inosuke like a human. Oh. But eventually, one day, Inosuke had enough. He snapped. What happened? Well, you know how Inosuke says everyone's name wrong? Yeah. This is the day it started. Inosuke kicked Takuharu straight in the teeth and told him to shut up while mispronouncing his name. Okay, now that's insane, but let's pick it up a notch, okay? I want to test your knowledge. Give me some Rengoku facts. Anything in particular? Well, remember how Rengoku always yells? Yeah. Well, why is that? Why is Rengoku so loud all the time? What if I told you it's because of a demon? Explain. Well, before becoming a Hashira and a donut, Rengoku's first mission saw him up against a flute demon who honestly has one of the most powerful blood demon arts in Demon Slayer. What did it do? To sum it up, whoever the demon targeted with this music would lose control of their body. If they wanted to move their head, their leg would move. If they wanted to move their arm, their head would move. That sounds like something an upper moon should have. I mean, honestly, bro should have been a lower moon. Before Rengoku arrived, he took out 9 demon slayers and ate 5 children. So how did Rengoku defeat him? I mean, obviously he survived, but how? Well, Rengoku didn't defeat him alone. Those who survived, despite how mangled their bodies were, communicated in sign language how the demon's ability worked. Now that's insane. But Rengoku, to counter, actually slammed his ears so hard, he ruptured his eardrums to make sure he couldn't hear the flute and then destroyed the demon. I guess they celebrated with shrimp tempura after that. What are you talking about? I mean, isn't it said that Rengoku's hair is red because he ate too much shrimp tempura, just like how Mistry ate too much Sakura mochi? No, that's not the truth at all. But didn't Rengoku say it? So Rengoku said he thinks he got his red hair from eating too much shrimp tempura. Right, so I'm missing or I'm confused, but how he actually got it is actually terrifying and dangerous. Explain. Well, since the days of the Sengoku era, the Rengoku men have always had flaming red hair, but this isn't due to shrimp tempura. It's actually due to a secret ritual called Konkagari. Konka what? How it works is that when pregnant, the wives will stare at an open flame, essentially a bonfire, for 2 hours straight, for 36 weeks straight, until the baby is born. Wait, isn't that dangerous? Exactly, it's incredibly dangerous, but once completed, the baby will be born with the signature red eyes and signature red hair. So I guess when Rengoku says set your heart ablaze, he really means your eyes. Something Muzan should have used more. His eyes? What do you mean? Well, you know how Muzan's looking for the blue spider lily? Yeah. Well, what if I told you he actually almost found it, but even worse, took out the one person that could tell him where it is? Oh no, you gotta explain. Well, as we know in Demon Slayer, the blue spider lily is what turned Muzan into a demon. He needs it to walk in the sun. Right, and Muzan is unable to find it, but why exactly is that? Well, ironically, it only grows in the sun and only for a short matter of time, and no one really knows where it is. That is, no one knows except Tanjiro. Explain. You see, when Tanjiro nearly loses his life against Rui, his life flashes before his eyes, and something that wasn't shown in the anime but was clearly shown in the manga was the location of the blue spider lily. But even crazier, he knows the location of it because his mom always took him there. Where is it? The grave of Yorichi's wife. But this is where it gets interesting. The fact that Tanjiro's mom took Tanjiro to this location so many times means it was close to the Tanjiro household. Which means when we go all the way back to episode 1, Muzan was standing right on top of the blue spider lily. Multiple people knew where it was, but he just didn't ask.